What's up, guys and gals? Welcome back to the Nerd Castle. Today in the world of indie games, we're going to be diving back on into Ostranauts. We checked this game out right around Christmas last year, and as we're getting more towards the fall of this year, I normally like to space out my videos that repeatedly look at an early access game about every 6 to 9 months. So in the last 9 months, this game has had pretty much 8 or 9 patches. Not like bug fixes, those have happened very, very frequently on the in-betweens, but since the last time we played the game, it's had 8 or 9 patches that have added new stuff to the game. And so I've put about, I think I played all weekend actually. This is one of those games that every time I play it, it gets underneath my skin. I like this game a lot, but I put about 25 hours in over the last week and a half, about the last half week or so, I suppose. And I like the game a lot, and so I'm ready to give more thoughts about the current build. If you've never seen Ostranauts before, this is the follow-up title from Blue Bottle Games. They are the developers of Neo Scavenger, which is very much revered in the world of indie games. This is a game that's taking place in space, though, where you are belt salvagers. So you are basically deniable corporate assets that live in a dystopian world where your job is to go out into a never-ending junkyard around an asteroid and basically break down ships. And whatever you manage to get done, you bring it back to the space station and you sell it to various parties, whether they be black market or official, in order to earn cash to pay off your wage slave debt, effectively. You are corporate property as far as this game is concerned in the storyline, and you owe them a lot of money because they set you up with the equipment that you need in order to start salvaging in the belt, and you're trying to kind of pay it off, sort of like something like Hard Space Shipbreakers. This game is a deep, highly simulated RPG, and so it's got a lot of bumps and hooks and knobs, but as we play this here today, I'm trying to give you a foreword, because Ostranauts has always been kind of a little bit of a rough game. They have plans to add a lot of stuff to the game. There's going to be a lot of things and a lot of moving parts. A lot of those things and moving parts are not actively in the game yet, but the UI references and whatnot to those things will exist. So in a lot of cases, you're going to click on a thing or see a thing, and after playing for a little while, you're going to learn that it doesn't really matter yet because that kind of, I guess, component of the game has not been added in yet. But I will try to condense my thoughts at the end of the video and give you my overall feedback about this build. It's mostly positive, but I do think that there's still some things that need to be focused on in order to get the game into ship shape, not intending to be punny there. But without further ado, let's dive on into the game. If after watching this you want to get the game for yourself, join in on the early access, or otherwise just wishlist it for later when you feel like it's in a better state, you can do that at the link that I provided for you down below in the description. Then on top of that, you can also take a look down there and find a link to my Twitch stream and my Discord, where I have been streaming the game over the last couple days just to get people initiated with it, because this is a complicated game that's got a lot of stuff going on. Until you learn all the systems and whatnot, it's going to be a little bit of a headache, and it's going to be a little bit overwhelming. I'm going to do my best here today to take it really, really slow, regardless of how long the video gets, because my guess is a lot of people that are going to run into this video are going to have no experience with it and don't know what's going on. And so there's going to be a lot of explanation here, and then if somebody ends up buying the game, hopefully this will act as a little bit of an opening salvo tutorial in order to help out new players as well. Although not so much, I guess, as the last video. Let's go. All right, so here we are inside the game. So ultimately, what is the goal of Ostranauts? As I said in the intro section of the video, you are hugely in debt, massively in debt. If I click my cash roster right here, you can see that I owe 6.4 million credits is how much I owe for the ship that they loaned me effectively to come become a salvager. And so every 6 hours or so, I owe them $17,000. And that's the reason why you're playing the game. Now, depending, this game has sort of an Ultima-style character creation, where you fill in your character's background and all the things he did before he became a salvager out here in the belt. And based on the skills and the money and the ship that you start out with, a lot of these things are going to be moved around a little bit. But at the end of the day, the core goal is every single time this little time meter hits one of these little hash marks, you owe that money. That's it. Now, the game doesn't end. You don't lose if you don't pay that money. Basically, what'll happen is they add a 30% surcharge to it or more, and then you've got to pay it in the future, so technically your balance goes up. And that's your punishment, is that it's going to take you a lot longer to get things done. For right now, I've played this playthrough for about 20 hours, so let me give you the grand tour here so that you'll roughly know how all of this stuff works. So this is my ship right here. I pretty much built this whole thing custom from the ground up. When I first started out the game, it was pretty much just like a little pod about this big that was full of machinery. And over the course of the last 20 hours, this is pretty much what I've gotten done. Every single piece of this ship that you're going to see here is a part that I stole from a floating derelict and then just sort of welded onto my ship like a reaver in order to make the whole thing work. So this is the main cabin right here. This is where I spend most of my time. There are a number of systems that you have to learn inside of this game, but you can see the wiring conduits running through the wall denoted in yellow. We've got some storage crates over here. We've got ourselves a bed right there so that I can sleep while I'm out and away from station. There's a heater right here. This is basically going to watch the pressure sensor and make sure, the temperature sensor, which is right here. It's linked up to that so that we can keep this entire area air conditioned properly. On top of that, I've also got I've got an oxygen tank and I've got a nitrogen tank that are hooked up to air pumps so that we can keep the proper air pressure inside of here. If you look up in the top right-hand corner of the screen, you will see that there are things that you want to kind of have done. Now, we're a little bit low on pressure right now, which kind of concerns me. I don't know why we're low on pressure and also why it's not refilling at the moment. I had to transfer this save from another computer, so we may have some weirdness that happens. The game doesn't have Steam Cloud saves. I would highly recommend they get those about as soon as possible, but the air pressure that's in here isn't gonna kill us. It should be fine. It should be okay. Ideally, we would want that to kind of be like around 100 kilopascals, but yeah, it's fine. I mean, our O2 levels are fine at 21 kilopascals, and then our N2 is fine at 30. That's exactly where you want those to be at. And so anyways, it's livable. We'll probably have some weird ear ringing, and we'll probably have to yawn a lot, but it'll probably be okay. Chances are maybe the canisters are empty, and so that's why it's not, like, refilling right now. That's actually exactly why it is. If you mouse over the canisters down here, it looks like they've run out of oxygen, and they have run out of NO2, in fact. We're out of pretty much everything. All right, so I'll have to refuel before we get out of here. Over here, this is a thruster. This is an RCS. This right here is a cooler, so it's the opposite of a heater, but they work in tandem with each other to set the proper temperature. Another RCS thruster right there that you can see. We also have two more RCS thrusters. We've got batteries that are hooked up to a switch so that I can power on and power off the entire ship from that big toggle right there. And basically, the things that I need to do is this is a storage room over here to the right that I'm currently building out. I've got it totally polished and good to go. There's still some trash and things laying around, but these are NO2 tanks right here. I'm sorry, these are nitrogen tanks right here. Nitrogen is the fuel that we use in order to fly our ship as well as properly pressurize the cabin. And so anyways, that's what this guy is right here too, is it's a fuel intake along with these two. And so we've got 6 fuel tanks that are hooked up to fuel intakes so that we can actually accelerate and rotate the ships. Down here, this is a battery charger for a lot of my tools that I have on my character. Inside of my toolbox here, you can kind of see them all if I open up the inventory. No, open up the inventory right there. There it is. All right, so you can see right here, all these windows are adjustable. You can move them around however you want. These are all my tools. I've got everything from angle grinders to soldering irons to, like, crowbars for just breaking into things and opening doors. I've got a laser lance torch, which is an upgraded version that's a lot faster. The equipment my character is currently wearing, this is a spaceman suit. That's exactly what that is. There are other suits in the game. Well, other suit. But this one is fully, like, it's a fully electronic, digital, basically makes sure that the pressure and my temperature are always perfect and nothing goes wrong and feeds me oxygen for long periods of time. It's the good stuff. And we've got the battery inside of there, which is actually discharging right now for some reason, even though I'm not using the suit. What I like to do is pull the battery when I'm back at station so that I don't have to worry about it. But that's where we're at right now. This is my ship. I hope you guys like it. Now that I've given you the tour, we're going to swing on down this way and go on into the station. So this is K-Leg. K-Leg is where you're going to spend the vast majority of your time trying to sell stuff here on the station. There's objects laying around. That's because I've decided that if I'm going to be a corporate wage slave, I'm going to become ungovernable, and I'm just going to litter everywhere whenever I have an object that I need to get out of my inventory to punish my corporate overlords. And there you go. I'm going to add some more litter to the pile right there. Hopefully it clogs up the CO2 scrubbers, and we all die. Let's go ahead. There are other locations you can go to on the transit kiosk. The transit kiosk, there's not too many locations in the game just yet. It's the same amount that we saw last time we played the game. But we can go over to the Old Emporium via a trail, or I guess a tram system. The Old Emporium is where you can meet the Black Market. He's over in the left in the bar, in the bottom left corner booth. And if you have a criminal background, you can just sell stuff to him by default from your character creation. Or if you don't have that, you've actually got to do a talking challenge in order to make him your friend before he'll sell you stuff. Or you can, like, threaten him and become kind of like his enemy, but he'll still sell to you out of fear. There's a number of ways to get around it, but it's important to note that the interaction system where you talk to other salvagers and other people on the station is not fully implemented yet. So, like, it doesn't really affect too much in the gameplay, except for the few things that are here that are scripted. This is the Gig Nexus. You can get jobs over here just in case you want to be like Intergalactic Uber, or you want to be Intergalactic Uber Eats and just, like, deliver people's burritos and stuff to make a little bit of extra money on the side. This right here is a battery suit charger. So that battery that I just took out of my suit, there's a free public use one right here where you can recharge it just in case you don't have one in your ship yet. We do have one in our ship, so it's not that big of a deal. This right here is a chair. It's for sitting, just in case you've never seen one of those before. This is the licensed salvage station. So there's 3 places where you can sell stuff that you rip off of ships. We'll talk about that, though, after we do our first salvage mission. For right now, I'm going to have to make a little bit of a cut because our character is sleepy and tired. And so I'm going to have to sleep for a little while. And sleeping takes a really, really long time in this game, so I'm just going to edit that out. For whatever reason, it takes... Oh, I guess our tanks are full. Well then, I don't have the slightest idea why our cabin is not pressurizing right now. Couldn't tell you. Honestly, don't know. Well, I guess the station is over-pressurized now that I looked at it. I guess I didn't memorize my numbers properly because you can see our Atmo regulator is struggling to get the pressure down to like 60. So I guess I don't know. I must have over-pressurized the station at some point. You can do fun activities like that. Like, for example, you can set up pumps and you can force them to, like, over-pressurize this area with a spacesuit on, and then you can flood this entire area with huge volumes of nitrogen until everybody dies. It's that kind of game where you can just be like a menace to society if you want to. But anyways, let me take care of my various chores. I'm going to go, like, eat some food and drink some drink pouch. And then we will go ahead and try to get out, and I'll show you some salvage gameplay. And then we'll talk about where you can sell that salvage. If you have never played the game before, because I think that's like the number one thing I see from new players is that they have no idea how to unload their salvage or like what to do with it in the early game. And so anyways, we're ready to hit the road. We're all rested up and good to go. So when you want to leave K-Leg, what you're going to do is you're going to right click on your nav station, you're going to go to use, and it's going to open this bad boy on up. Now this game is a big fan of immersive UIs. This entire game is super retro sci-fi. You will have to learn how to fly this bad boy. I have good news for you, though, if you've never seen the game before. Almost like 99% of all the stuff in the UI in this game has very specific niche uses that you are more than likely never going to run into. And by the time you run into those things, you're going to be involved in such advanced gameplay that it's not going to freak you out anymore anyways, because you'll know how to fiddle with stuff. But in a nutshell, the things that I think you need to know about are largely going to be how to undock, which I think a lot of people get stuck on. Undocking's pretty easy. They give you a list right here of how to undock, but like, man, you'll figure it out. It's pretty intuitive, but except for this first part. So we are in K-Leg right now. We've got to pay our fees. If it won't let you undock, the first thing you need to realize is that when you're on K-Leg, they charge you for every hour that you're sitting around on station. And since I was sleeping, I just wanted to check and make sure I don't have any fees. Now then, I don't have any fees. The next thing we want to do is we want to check our salvage license, because if we don't have this, we're not allowed to salvage. It looks like we have about 2.5 hours left on our salvage license. It'll probably take us longer than that to salvage a ship, so I'm going to go buy another one so that I don't end up as an illegal salvager, which is kind of a bad thing to be, because then the cops shake you down for money and all kinds of other problems. And so did it buy the license? I think that it did. This right here is the company terminal. You can buy a license from here. And in fact, there's our second license right there. So that's good stuff. We're going to throw the old license on the floor next to the other one that I just threw on the floor, because why not? We have 8 minutes to get out of here before they charge me a docking fee again. And so let's move. We'll go to our nav station. We're going to use this guy. And then if you click on the right side of the screen right here, it's going to bring out the docking controls. We need to select a docking target. We are in K-Leg right now. We're going to select it. We need pushback and taxi service. And then we're going to accept the terms on that. When the docking clamp lights up green, you just hit this button right here. And we are now officially undocked from the space station. which is on the side of this asteroid right here. But one thing you want to notice when you first undock is that you are facing the station. So under no circumstances should you press the W key right now, otherwise you'll endo into the station. So I'm just going to hit the Q button and turn the ship around real fast. Navigation in this game is two-dimensional. You don't have to worry about a third dimension. We're going to press the R key in order to stabilize our rotation, and then we need to find a ship to salvage. That guy looks like a good candidate, and we've got 2 candidates out here. These are all ships that I've already gone through, and I promise you I've stripped the hell out of them, so there's nothing left. Like, it's basically just loose wires and floating plating. We want to click on that ship right there, and what's going to happen is this little readout on the right side of our panel is going to change. Now, because you're in space, your ship has no way to know how fast you are moving without something that you're locked onto that it can calculate your relational velocity to, which is your VREL right here. As I accelerate with the W key, as you see, that's going to go up. And that's one of the more important things you want to keep an eye on. Don't mind, it was just auto-saving. The game wasn't frozen. But I'm going to accelerate up to about maybe 300, 400 meters per second. The second number you're going to want to need to know on this panel is RNG. That's your range. That's how far away you are from that object. So as of right now, we are about 564 kilometers away from that derelict, which is pretty far. That proximity warning, we can disable that. They added this switch after I did my last video because the proximity alarm in this game is unbelievably annoying. We're going about half a kilometer per second right now. Now, it might seem like that's a really, really long flight, but the good news is you have time dilation. The final number you probably want to be aware of, or the final 2 numbers, is your ETA. That's how many seconds you have until you arrive at this derelict over here. And then also your RCS remass. Your RCS remass is how much fuel you have left inside your thrusters. You know how I showed you the fuel intake and the amount of tanks I have hooked up? That's because my ship's really, really big by this game's standards. Well, medium-sized. It takes a lot of thrust to get it moving, and so I had to install like 5 more fuel tanks just to avoid running out of fuel on longer runs. The good news is we are now drifting, which is not using any fuel whatsoever, but we're going to speed up time a little bit, and one thing I like about this game is that you'll notice our little arrow gets a little bit longer, and that allows us to plot a course very, very carefully so that we hit this object just perfect by the time we get over there. As of right now, we are streaming across the galaxy at 16x time. It's kind of hard to go any faster. I would recommend that they put in a 32 and a 64x, mostly for sleeping and for really, really, really long range travel. Those are the 2 things that I bump my elbows on, is that, like, I dread sleeping in this game because if you're really, really tired, you'll probably have to sleep for like 3 hours, and 3 hours on X16 time, whew, you might as well turn on Netflix and do something else, man. It takes forever. One workaround that I would do is I don't know exactly how much their economic simulation is hooked in to the tick rate of the CPU or whatever, so this might not work. I'm not going to speak out of turn. But the other thing they could do is they could just pause all the other vehicles that are being flown by AIs and whatnot, like these little yellow guys and things that are flying around, and basically just have the screen fade to black and come back like 3 hours later. I think that's a much better solution because you don't really want to have long, like 10-minute breaks in gameplay while sleeping. It's one of the things that I've found that with this game, I tend to avoid it a lot. It actually looks like our course is fairly true right now, so I don't think we have to fiddle with it too much more, but this all controls with WASD. Once we get inside 50,000, I'm going to start decelerating, and there it is. Let's decelerate a bit, and then we'll kind of straighten out our course a little bit better, just fine-tune. There we go, and we are in it. We're going to decelerate a little bit further once we get inside of 10 kilometers. So get ready to turn off time dilation. There we go. Time dilation is officially off. And we are trying to get inside of 100 meters in order to dock. So we're going to be cutting it kind of close. I'm going to take the speed down to about 200. And from there, you cannot dock unless you are underneath 100 V relational. So we're going to try to get this a little bit closer, and we are now inside of hailing range, which is why we have a proximity warning. Everything is blinking, and everything is scary. I'm going to take this down to 150. We're going to go to our docking console. We're going to select a docking target, hit that question mark right there since it's an unknown derelict. We're going to accept the docking request, and the important thing you need to know about this little mini game is that the ship moves in the opposite direction of what you're pressing on WASD. We just need to get this lined up with the center of our airlock. So I'm going to slow down a little bit further, and we're just going to get it to like right almost where we are. And once it turns green, we got to click the button. There it is, and we're in. Our first successful docking. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. But if you want your ship to go right on this little thing, remember you're backing in. And so if you want it to go right, you got to push left, and if you want it to go left, you got to push right. And then this little guy right here makes sure that your facing is okay. You want both these arrows to be giving each other a little smooch as it gets closer and closer. Otherwise, when you come into this docking control, you're not going to see your pod, and that's going to be an appropriate moment to start panicking. So anyways, let's close down the docking computer. The clamps are all in. We will actually close out of the nav console entirely. And we are going to slap our helmet on, and let's see what we've got here. I don't know why I'm gasping, and oh, it's because my suit doesn't have a battery to move the air around inside of it. So, like, I almost died right there from my own suit. My suit did not capture the air from the atmosphere outside of me. You get this cool little UI when you put on a helmet where it like covers your game, and then we've got this little UI readout on the right that's monitoring the internal and external oxygen, pressure, temperature, how much O2 we have left, how good our battery is. Let's go ahead and walk out the airlock and see what we've got here. I like to do little walkthroughs. So we've got a lamp right there. I've already got one. I don't really need it. We've got a door right here that is locked and closed, so we are going to have to dismantle this door or uninstall it if we want to get into the greater interior of the derelict. So there we go. The door should be down now. On this side, there's a turbo air pump. That's an upgraded aftermarket air pump. We're going to want to take that with us before we leave because it's like semi-valuable. It's like C+ valuable. If there's nothing else to grab, we'll grab it. And in fact, they've got it mounted through that wall. Right there, they've got an RCS thruster. You want to get the thrusters. The thrusters are pretty valuable. Unfortunately, this one is damaged. You can see that over on the right. But the good news is we can fix it because we're a Renaissance man. We have skills in zero-G engineering. And so anyways, every single object in this game has two states. It is either damaged or not damaged. If it's damaged, it sells for basically nothing. It's broken. But what you can do is you can find parts just laying around on the ship. So you can find like scrap steel, you can find optic cabling, you can find heat sinks, you can find motors, you can find aluminum, and basically crafting materials. And each of these objects in a damaged state requires a fixed list of things in order to get back up and running. And a lot of the time, those things are just laying around the ship. Now, the repair process is going to take a really, really long time if you don't have the skills, the know-how, and also the tools to get it done. But I would still recommend doing it because if you fix this thing, it'll sell for like $5,000 to the black market, and it'll sell for like $2,000 to the legal market. And as you can see, there's a motor laying right there. There's electronic parts laying right there. There's mechanical parts laying right there. So all bets from me are on the fact that we're going to be able to repair that pretty easily. Let's see what else is around here. We've got, this is actually, looks like quite a large ship. We've got two more air pumps on the wall right there. We'll want to get those. There's a heat sink on the floor. There is a damaged heater on that side. We've got a destroyed door right here. We're going to go ahead and scrap it. The ships, I've never found a ship that's pressurized. They may exist, but you should assume anytime you're going on board a derelict spacecraft that it is venting atmosphere or has completely vented its atmosphere. There's a bunch of floor tiles inside of here and wall tiles inside of here, a few containers and canisters. Looks like we've got more electronic parts and some trash. I like to do a walkthrough first, basically, every time I go into a ship to figure out what's in here. Yeah, they blew out their hull right there. You can see it. So these guys probably died pretty painfully. Looks like the side hull ruptured right there and blew out. There's a floating screen right there. There's a damaged nav station. Nav stations go for about 10 to 11 grand to the black market. They go for about 5 grand to the legal market. Another broken door. Yeah, this place did not have a great time. This place, something bad happened here. But there's something intoxicating about kind of the silence of this game and of working inside like an old dead ship that may have been floating here for 50 years, you know what I mean? And while we're doing all this, Neo Scavenger is happening. This game actually takes place in the same time period as Neo Scavenger. These guys basically know that Earth is destroyed, that there was some kind of cataclysm, and just never went back. They just live out in the belt now, living off of the remains of scavenged ships in order to keep the space stations up and running and whatnot. And so anyways, there's a helium-3 tank right there. Not particularly valuable, but the good news is the fact that there is a D2 tank and a helium-3 tank means that there is a nuclear reactor on board. And nuclear reactors are where we get the big money and the big prizes. And because the ship's power grid is powered down, it should be an easy grab. Now, if the ship was powered up, there's a very specific set of things we have to do in order to power down the reactor without causing a meltdown. It's actually kind of complicated, and I'm glad that I don't have to do it on camera because I guarantee I'd screw it up. But anyways, there's a battery right here. It looks like there's another RCS cluster right there. There's a fuel intake right there. So yeah, there's some goodies around here. We're going to want to follow these power wires, though, and try to figure out where the door is that takes us over to the nuclear housing. So let's see if we can find this nuclear reactor real quick. There's another room over here. It looks like a bathroom, so they've got a sink. They don't have a toilet, though. I've been on the lookout for a toilet. I will take their sink, and they've got an extra bed right there, though, too, although it's in terrible condition. But anyways, there's a sink, and you can recustomize your character whenever you want if you've got a sink on your ship. So I would consider installing it. We've got another heater, and it looks like we have a cooler over here. There is a busted door right here, so we're going to go ahead and scrap that out and get the door open. And it looks like this is another bathroom. No toilet, though. Was really, really hoping we'd find a toilet around here somewhere. It's weird the things that you want to have on your ship, but I'm tired of flying all the way back to Kegleg. I'm tired of flying all the way back to K-Leg whenever my character needs to go poop, all right? Well, I've got bad news. There's no nuclear reactor on the ship, so somebody else stripped it. One of the other salvagers flying around probably got it. My guess is it was right here. That's what I'm thinking, is because you see the little hash marks right there. I'm guessing the reactor was right there. And somebody already peeled it and pulled it. So, here's where we get to the fun stuff. We've got a liquid helium canister. We're going to go ahead and uninstall that. Let's go ahead and rip that on out here. It's going to take a long time. This game is a slow burner. This is not a game that's going to give you the instantaneous satisfaction of playing it. This is honestly a great candidate for a game that you play while you actively have Netflix open, like on your other monitor, and you kind of just disassemble ships and add their parts to your ship and make it all better. But what I'm going to do here is we'll get this helium-3 canister out. We are going to fix the battery. We're going to try to get the D2 tank out as well. We'll probably try to fix all the RCS clusters. That one's in good shape, actually. It just needs a restoration. For items that are not damaged, they still have a durability. So you can see right here that this helium canister, if we go over to the right, well, it doesn't tell us, but we can restore it. And in fact, it's right next to broken. And restoring your items is really, really important because it increases their sell value. What I'm doing right now is I'm breaking out my soldering gun and I'm breaking out various tools that I have inside my toolbox. And I am basically getting all the grime and all the rust and everything else off of it and repainting it so that it looks brand new and everything is all good to go. I will show you in just a moment what it looks like when we go in and we tear off and repair this fuel intake. But it's going to take a second until we're done with this task. So that's kind of life. Okay, so we're just going to pick up this canister. As of right now, weight and encumbrance are not inside the game. You can basically pick up a nuclear reactor and carry it around on your back. I'm guessing that later on they're going to have trolleys and they're going to have like hoists. And they're going to have like various specialized tools that let you get heavy stuff out of the ship and move it back to your ship. But for right now, not that big of a concern. So this guy right here, if you want to fix a broken intake regulator, you just right-click on it, then you click on repair. And if the things exist on this ship in order to fix this, he will instantaneously spring to action because your character actually has a memory of everything he's seen on this map. I know, that's kind of crazy, right, if you think about it, but your character indexes and remembers every loose piece of gear that he has on his ship, and also that are on this ship that he has seen by uncovering Fog of War. And so if it's there, he'll get to work on it, and he'll just start dragging it all back over here and fix it. If they're missing something that they need in order to fix this, you'll get a red notification down here at the bottom that'll be like, cannot find X item in order to fix intake regulator, and then he'll go back to like idling or doing whatever. So the intake regulator is almost fixed. There we go. It's good to go. Let's go ahead and uninstall it. We'll go ahead and pull it and pop it, and then we'll drop it back in our cargo bay so that we've got things to sell. And so I've showed you the repairing and the restoration process and how that kind of works. I'm going to kind of work my way around and try to like tear down some of this stuff, but it's important to note that, like, everything in this game is deconstructible. There is no object in this game that you cannot deconstruct that's out in deep space. So if I wanted to rip out the floors, I could rip out the floors and put them in my inventory. I could rip out the walls and put them in my inventory. I could rip out the wiring and put that inside my inventory like an intergalactic meth head. And then I can take this stuff and I can build it on my ship, which is exactly what I've done to build my custom ship. It's a long process, and it's very, very risky in the early game when you're using like a pressure suit, which basically only stores like 10 minutes worth of oxygen. But it is very much worth it because the larger your ship is, the less trips it makes you to salvage a ship. You can also hire employees back at the station. I haven't done it because the game is already not very challenging once you've figured out all the systems. But you can hire employees, you can pay them by the day, and you can turn your ship into basically a rimworld colony where you've got to like feed everybody and make sure nobody has to use the bathroom, and you can have one guy pilot the ship and tell him where you want him to take the ship to, and you can have 2 or 3 other guys that go on board this ship with you, and you can give them individual orders just like I'm giving my characters so that we're all working on different tasks and whatnot and being more time efficient. There's really no reason to do that right now in the current build, except just to do it. Largely because there's not really that much content on in here. I think the biggest ship that I've seen so far took me about an hour and a half by myself. And like, frankly, I'm not in a hurry. I enjoy games like this and Hard Space Shipbreakers, where it's about doing kind of mundane activities over and over and over again, and then seeing your wallet swell up, and then using your cash flow in order to build up your ship. But, you know, for people that are looking for a little bit more action or to get things done more efficiently, there is room here to get that done. Well, we've been scanned by the police. So the police are here. They should scan us. They shouldn't come by because I have an active license on me. And it should be registered inside my navigation computer that I have that. But occasionally they'll do a flyby. You will hear the boops of close proximity alarms going off as they basically buzz your ship and like boop, 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 and like come by. Don't panic about it. The police are actually in a lot better shape than the last time I played the game. So the last time I played the game about a year ago, the police would crash into your ship trying to dock with it, even if you were already docked with another derelict and your airlock wasn't accessible, and they would basically break your ship in half and knock huge chunks out of it and effectively torpedo your playthrough, which totally sucked. They don't do that anymore. Now, if they can't dock with you, they basically just like give up and fly off after a little while, which is a great change, an absolutely fantastic change. I think my recommendation was the last time I played the game that they just go ahead and disable the AI entirely, like both the AI salvagers and the AI police, because like, man, the game was barely playable the last time that I played it. It was very, very buggy. Like, I think I had something go wrong like every 2 or 3 hours that I was playing the game that either took a long time to fix or like just couldn't be fixed, and your playthrough was kind of like messed with. This time around, the game is in a much more stable state, and in fact, I don't think I've had any game-breaking issues at all in about 25 hours, which really goes to show, given the fact that the game was really, really buggy the last time I played it, like legitimately one of the most buggy titles I've seen in a very, very long while, to do that much work just on the stability of the game and like making it work and have a lot less annoying occurrences with the AI and whatever. That's a big come up for a year's worth of work, taking a game from that rough of a state to basically like no problems whatsoever during the last 20 hours or so that I've played. And so the developers definitely deserve kudos for that. One thing that will happen is occasionally when you're taking thrusters off the walls, they'll spawn in space outside the wall. Hopefully the developers will fix that so that it always spawns inside of like a floored area instead. I have to knock out walls constantly and spacewalk to go pick up my loot, even though I looted it from the inside of the ship. But we are about halfway through our salvaging run right now. I'll show you the loot pile when we get finished off. I'm working my way from the right to the left, so we already gutted the engine room, the fuel intakes. We're getting all the thrusters off right now. This ship has already been touched by somebody, because like all of the big value, big money, prizes are already gone. But there's still some stuff here that like a intergalactic rat can survive off the crumbs of, so I don't want to leave it behind. Oh, that is a toilet right there. I guess I looked at it wrong. Cool, we now have a toilet on our ship. Rad, dude. That's actually the best. Having a toilet on the ship makes me so happy. Like, you see this little button down here that says bowels normal? At some point, it's going to change to bowels moving. And I don't know, like, I feel like being in 0G is stressful enough without my booty hole pulling G-force pressures like for, things that need to come out. And so anyways, this is a good acquisition. I don't know why I thought it was a sink previously, but it's a toilet, a space toilet, the best kind of toilet. So we'll go ahead and install that on our ship so that we have it. And in fact, I'll also get this sink down here, I think. Oh, that's a toilet too. It's in way better shape than the other toilet. Man, I thought that was a sink as well. I guess my eyeballs just aren't very good. I think I've gutted just about everything I can. Well, no, there's another RCS over here. All right. Well, we're about done here. Doesn't look like there's much left for us to occupy ourselves with. Everything that could be fixed did get fixed and was popped out into our inventory. But this is not a hugely profitable vessel, unfortunately. I'm gonna slap my helmet off real fast, and I'm also gonna take off my spacesuit so that I'm not draining my batteries. It said my tools were running out of power too. Every tool has a battery inside of it that I need to keep charged. But we will stack up our ill-begotten gains over here. And as you can see, we got some parts to take back to market. And I think for the sake of demonstration and getting you guys acclimated with the game, it's a perfectly fine find. Let's go ahead and fix the toilet real quick. Yeah, that toilet is busted as all hell, man. I don't know if I would want to take a space poop in that toilet. I feel like it might invite dark spirits into the lower part of my body, of which I'm usually protective. I just don't need that kind of stress in my life, dude. Like, everything's, fun and games until you got yourself a butt ghost. And then at that point, that's when I just don't want to play Spaceman anymore. I don't want to play Spaceman at all if it means I gotta acquire a butt ghost. Let's go ahead and we'll just slap the toilet in the corner over there. Just build it on the ship. All right, toilet installed. We've got facilities. All right. Does that toilet have stirrups on it? It does. It does. The toilet has stirrups on it, just in case you need that, that AI-assisted extra, that extra attention from your onboard systems. All we got to do now is fly back to K-Leg and sell this stuff, and that'll basically be our first salvage mission taken care of. And you'll know basically how the game functions. That's pretty much all there is to do in the game right now. There are varying ship types. So there are like luxury cruisers, there are industrial haulers, there are life pods. There are a number of different ships that you'll find around. I do think that like beginning to populate those things with like a little bit of lore or interesting things to find about like what went wrong, like logs and things of that nature would be a pretty cool idea. But anyways, let's get back to K-Leg. I don't think you guys need to see this flight right here. This is going to be kind of a long flight. Oh, look at that. It rotated. Well, hopefully by the time we get over there, it'll be at a little bit easier of an angle to hit. I might have to pull a crazy Ivan to get this one done. But we'll be there momentarily, I promise. So what I'm going to need to do in order to hit this target is we're basically going to drift the ship sideways. We're going to slightly rotate, and we're going to shoot that gap in between all those derelicts right there. That's the plan anyways. I just got to get the nose kind of at the angle I want it to be at, and doing that on 16x speed is going to be kind of difficult. There we go. That's about the right angle. It's not like perfect, but it'll do. All right. Almost there. And now that we've almost got her lined up, we're going to fire left side thrusters. We've got a little bit of a backwards thing happening right here. Okay. Yeah, that wasn't as pretty as I had hoped it would be. Like, I was hoping I could do it all in, like, one swift movement. People were like, oh my god, Splattercat, he's an amazing space pilot. I wish I could be like him. But it didn't happen like that, all right? It didn't happen like that. We're almost into K-Leg. We need to start decelerating probably around... Let me zoom a little closer here. Yeah, now would probably be a good time to decelerate. I think now would be a fantastic time to decelerate down to like 250V. There we go, 250V. We'll speed her up for a second till we're inside of 5 kilometers for docking privileges. All right, we are inside for docking privileges. Take this down to about 150. Take this over to here. We will dock with K-Leg. Don't do K-Leg business. You can't dock at that one yet, as far as I know anyways. Oh, apparently I'm not, like, rotated properly. I don't know. Hold on. Let me kill my thrust real fast. All right, so you see how my little arrow's not lined up right there? We need it to be lined up. And until it is lined up, we're going to have a bad time. We should come on screen right about there. There it is. So that means we want to stabilize and get it to like right there. And honestly, that was kind of a sloppy landing. That was much sloppier than I expected, but we managed to pull it together. It doesn't matter if it looks pretty. What matters is, did you make it into port without taking any damage? So we're going to close this all down. As you can see, we've got a PDA on the left that will have like quests and things when those are in. We've got a crew roster when we can tell them where to work and where to sleep, just like RimWorld. There's a social media site right here that tells you everybody that you know. I am lovers, apparently, with every single person in the station because I had brief conversations with them. The relationship system isn't fully in the game yet. You can go to the Gig Nexus, and you can get jobs over here. And the entire game maintains sort of this retro-futuristic, very hands-on, analog, slightly digital, I guess, motif. Like, every single menu is done that way, and it all looks great. We throw on a suit because I don't think anybody wants to see my willy right now. And then we will take some of this stuff and we will sell it on the station so that you know where to sell things at. We will grab the intake. We will grab... Actually, I need to fix all this stuff first. Give me a second. All right, it's all fixed. I went through and fixed it all. We're going to want to take the batteries, the RCS clusters. We'll probably want the air pumps. Let me get this RCS cluster over here. Oop, that was not what I wanted to do. Get the RCS... Is that one still busted too? Man... All right, now we're getting all this stuff into our pockets. I think I want the other clusters over here, and I think I can fit both the cluster and the air pump inside of here. Yes, I can. So there we go. We've got all the goodies that we can possibly shovel into our greedy little pockets. I'm going to leave the tanks and everything here because normally the black market doesn't buy them. You will want to know about the build menu. The build menu allows you to custom build everything in the game. So if you have one of these objects available for installation, or you have the walls or the floors or whatever else, this is how you're going to blueprint it out, and then you just click on the auto button for the character that you want to build it all, and they will go to the nearest job that they need to get done. Sometimes that can be a little bit iffy. I don't want to undersell that. Sometimes the AI gets a little bit weird and wonky when it comes to pathfinding and what they want to work on, but by and large it works. So 3 places that you can sell stuff. If you have a salvage license, you can sell things at the license-only desk right here. They will give you a middle range price, and they will buy everything that you find on spaceships. The We Buy Scrap terminal. This is for if you're an illegal salvager and you don't have a license yet. Every, I think, 12 hours or so, they will want different things, and they will pay you, like, meh prices for them. But you can also buy things here like food and tools and batteries and things of that nature in case you need them for your tools, for your ship, whatever. In the old Emporium is where you're going to make the big money. The black market basically gives you like triple value on just about everything because you're not paying the company to buy the stuff that you've salvaged. You're going behind their backs and you're getting the premium prices without the middleman involved. So we'll talk to him real fast. You can socialize with anybody you want. The social system doesn't seem to affect anything just yet. Our character does have traits. We can find out other people's traits. We have skills. They have statuses and skills, but you have to talk to them until you find out what their skills are. Really, the only reason you would do that right now is to hire them as crew. Nobody seems to have quests or anything else from who I've talked to that go anything deeper than just like talking to people, learning who they are, what their skills are, and hiring them. But we can offer to trade down here. There's all kinds of things you can do socially with characters around the station. You can ignore them. You can be a jerk. You can up, down, look at them and try to like pick a fight. You can just talk to them normally, like a productive member of society would do. It's up to you, but what we want to do is we want to begin trading because we want to see what he's buying right now. Right now, he is buying batteries and he is buying Halverson clusters. He's giving us double price on the batteries. And he is giving us about double price on the Halversons. So that's good. We just made $12,000. That's enough to pay my bills for one more day. Unfortunately, he doesn't want any of the other stuff that we have. He wants a toilet. He'll take a toilet, and he would have taken a nav station, but there wasn't a heat sink to fix the nav station. So I couldn't fix it, unfortunately. We used the heat sink on other stuff. So alas. We could have made a lot more money right there, but nope. It looks like he's also buying O1 canisters, but not for very much. Frankly, we didn't miss out on a whole lot on that ship. It's okay. So now what we want to do is we want to take our stuff and we want to sell it to the other salvage kiosk, the one that's for the official company. You can explore around here. You can look around. If you need a bed, you can break into this room right here and sleep in the bed just in case you don't have one on your ship. For whatever reason, the game doesn't let you sleep on the floor. I'm trying to think of like active things that I had trouble with while I was playing the game that I needed to figure out like workarounds to get around. We will drop this other stuff off at the license counter. The license counter, I don't think they ever sell anything except for what you have already sold them, if I remember correctly. But they will take the RCS, but not for very much. That kind of sucks. The air pumps are worth $1,000, so that's good. Well, honestly, not the most productive of a run. But then again, space salvaging rarely is. Space salvaging, sometimes you find a ship that's got 500 grand on it, but most of the time you find life pods and crappy little industrial ships that have like 15 grand on them. It just kind of depends. And those are the ones that you gut in order to make your ship more awesome, assuming that you've got enough room to get that finished off. So at this point, I'm going to kind of go through and give you my thoughts about my last 20 hours playing the game, things I think they could be doing better, things that I think have been patched up and feel really, really good by comparison to the last time we covered the game. So let's go ahead and get on into it. So, in the time that I've spent with Ostranauts, the truth is that the content still isn't there. It's been a year since our last coverage, but, like, I think most of the improvements have come on the stability side of the game. So, unless you're immediately gripped like I was about the idea of tearing apart ships to build up your own custom ship, aside from that, the game doesn't really have a huge depth of things to do. The stuff like ship parts, like aftermarket things, the RPG aspects, the growth of your character, the relationships that you're going to form with other space salvagers and people on K-Leg, those are still placeholders, just like they were kind of last time. The good news is, in all this, though, after a year of development since the last time we covered the game, it is in a much more stable, playable state. Last time I took a spin through K-Leg, the game couldn't go more than an hour or two without some kind of major issue that either made me like load a save or replay a big chunk of my playtime and kind of reset. This time around, the 20 or 30 hours that I spent with the game was largely bug-free, which really surprised me. That's a big, refreshing change for such a small amount of development time, like 9 months. And so it strikes me that while the game is still short on content, the polish level has gone up considerably. Like, yeah, there's still going to be little bugs that you run into, especially with regards to, like, pathfinding, for example. But they're all quickly fixable with just a few clicks if you're used to the game and how kind of the dog brain of the AI works. The big things, however, when it comes to crashes and when it comes to game-breaking stuff, appear to have been crushed with a mallet during the last cycles of updates. And that's good. Really, really good, in fact. All the content in the world isn't going to hit and make players happy if the game doesn't run properly. And at this point, it is far smoother than the last time I played the game. There are a few new items, and there are a few new things to play around with in the tool category, but the main point of improvement here is going to be performance and stability. I enjoyed reacquainting myself with Ostranauts, and I am looking forward to future updates to see what they're going to add, because this is one of those games that, like, I'm really, really backing with all my horses, because this is like a dream game for me. That's not going to stop me from pointing out things that I think it can do a little bit better, but like now that stability is in a good spot, I would guess like you don't want to put content on top of an unstable platform. You want your foundation to be good before you put in the framing and the drywall and everything else, like when you're building a house. And that's kind of where they're at now. I feel like the foundation of the game is definitely getting to the point where like, okay, this feels good, it's playing all right, and I'm guessing content is going to start coming out in force soon. That's speculation. I have no validation of that, but it feels like the game is getting to a place where it is very much playable in its limited form right now, and so that's good. Over the next year, we'll probably find out whether that's true or not, and I will definitely hit it again when the time comes because I'm looking forward to it. My name is Splattercat. I sift through the pile to find what's worthwhile in the world of indie games every single day so you don't have to. Today up on the chopping block, we were playing around with Ostranauts, checking back in on it after about 9 months. I'll be back tomorrow with something hot and fresh off the indie skillet, but up until then, it's time for me to go. Thank you for the luxury of your time, and I'll be back later.